Now we can see a new world coming into view. A world in which there is the very real prospect of a new world order.
Question is, will they kill untold millions as they did in the last century? It is not the elite cockroaches that determine that. It is you.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Now, I wasn't going to do a part 4 on eugenics, and Aaron's been on with us 3 times in the last few weeks because we're finishing up Endgame right now. And we knew the globalists planned to kill 80% of us in all their big statements, 80 to 90%. We knew this was the dominant push. But it's always worse than we think. And last night I was double-checking some facts. It appeared about 1:30. And I knew that Bill Gates had given more than $30 billion total to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation since the mid-'90s to Planned Parenthood and then overseas really aggressive eugenics organizations and enforced inoculations, you name it. I mean, just really aggressive stuff in third world countries. And I was doing more research, and then, of course, Warren Buffett gave him $37 billion. That was just in one pledge. And we always talk about all these different connections and these nexus points and how it's all interconnected. And so I briefly wanted to go over some history. Then we're going to go to break here in a minute or two and come back and get into it in more detail with Aaron Dykes. But IBM keeps coming up. I mean, I don't look for this stuff. I just have a good memory. I find out who really owns Applied Digital Solutions with the implantable microchip that loses money year after year after year after year after year, and it's always on TV and always saying we need to take microchips, and it's so great, and put them in old people and put them in prisoners and put them in children. And I remember finding out that IBM really basically created them, owns most of their stock, owns most of their debt. I found out IBM literally has thousands of front companies, thousands. And then, of course, I said, well, let me check, and this is many years ago. Let me check into IBM. Are they involved in anything else weird? Thomas Watson, the founder of International Business Machines, was a top Nazi sympathizer, admired Hitler, went to Germany, got medals put on him by Hitler as late as 37. And then I found out he developed the first, what you could call real computers to run race tests in the 1928 on blacks and interbreeding with whites. And that he literally said, my company is to go into the future to support all of this agenda. It was already one of the most successful and most powerful companies in the world by the time he died. And then, of course, his son, Junior, continued this. They're big globalists, big CFR, big trilateral, big Bohemian Grove members going on right now in Northern California. And I'd already read and seen and even seen a PBS special like 10, 12 years ago where they basically admitted that IBM couldn't have the operating system for all the computers because that would be a monopoly. And so they basically did the deal with Gates and let him have the monopoly. And then I found out his dad changed his name a couple times, was in military, clearly in intelligence, then was the head of Planned Parenthood in Seattle, then nationally, then he's still alive, still on the national, international chairman of the board, and then right now he's just on the board, but he's been chairman of the board. And then I found out that he's the chairman, co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation with its, I don't know, it's 30 and 37 billion. That's $67 billion in it right now, not to mention all the other donations they've gotten from others in the billions. So it's all the same people. And then you can just randomly pick a name out of a globalist and go, look, and they'll be a eugenicist. They'll be into population control. I mean, this is the overdriving system. So you have IBM, this Nazi company. Well, they were Nazi before the Nazis even existed. You know, I mean, it's like it comes from here in England, not Germany. I mean, you have the progenitors of the Nazis still running things today, and then we find out they're over the Chinese one-child policy with the computers that run it. They're over the operations here. They're over the Human Genome Project. They're over everything. That's what blows me away, is that there's never any end to the evil and the proof. And then on the news, it's, they're helping black children. Oh, it's so nice. And you find out it's sterilizing and injections and all this other, I mean, my God, man.
I mean, they basically admit it with Moyers. The question is, how did you get so involved in world population control?
My daddy. Here we go. Bill Gates is far more wicked than we even thought. And I've done quite a bit of research on him. I knew he was a big eugenicist supporter. You can change the names all day, that's what it is. And I knew that he'd given and collected now over $67 billion for it. And the sick joke here is you watch CNN or you read a news article and it's, oh, Bill and Melinda, they are, and the Marxist websites, they actually have the Marxist website worshiping him, and the liberals, oh, it's so, give all your money away. He puts it in tax-free. The big money, turn of the last century, 1906, put their money into tax-free foundations. They didn't break up Standard Oil. They just put it under 12 different names. So number one, that's a whole other area here. Number one, he's taking the interest and the profits off tax-free company investments because they get to go out and own companies and everything else. And they're taking the profit off of that after they pay all their executives and their staff, hundreds of millions of dollars. And so basically they're just going tax-free, which is about a 40% savings for them. So number one, but you're only allowed to see, Bill Gates, I've always said was not the richest man in the world. There's now a Mexican richer than him. But those are just nouveau riche, new money. The old money had tens of billions of dollars 100 years ago, back when a billion was a billion. Okay, the equivalent of trillions today. The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds. They all are foundation money. The literal palaces, the helicopters, the endowments, the universities they chartered, it's all in the foundation. You understand? So there's that fraud there. But this chilled me to my bones to learn that he wasn't just funding eugenics. It was the fact that his daddy was the head of Planned Parenthood, changed his name twice, was involved in all sorts of shadowy intelligence operations. And then what I'd already known from sources in industry and little pieces I got in news and PBS where they leaked it, IBM, another front company. I can clearly say from our research that Microsoft is another, I knew they were allied, but it is another IBM front company to get around trust busting. And that literally the profits from these companies